see my teacup? Hello everyone, and welcome to another video. If you're new here, my name is Erin and I'm so glad to have you visiting my channel today. A few weeks ago, I put out a little post on my Instagram and also my YouTube community section and asked if you all have questions for me, which I am going to be answering in this video. And I thought while doing a Q&A type of video, it would be fun to also make some tea. So feel free to join with me and brew up a cup of tea for yourself as well. And I will be answering the questions in between making the tea. And if you see me looking off screen here, I am just referring to my notes and the questions that you all have asked me. So let's go ahead and jump right into the video. All right, so while the kettle is boiling, or getting ready to boil, I'm gonna answer a couple of questions. So the first question comes from Ruby Outdoors, and she asks, what keeps the peace in your heart? Asking for a friend. JK, it's me. Thank you, Ruby, for that question and for that compliment. I was thinking about this question in advance, and I had come up with a nice little organized list of things that I was like, what does keep the peace in my heart? And just to be transparent, I tried filming this video yesterday and was just having a really off day, was not feeling the peace in my own heart. And so got everything set up and then started to read this question and was like, I don't feel very peaceful right now. I think for me, what I've learned is that peace is definitely a practice, and it's, something that I have to cultivate. Some of the things that I have discovered over the years that have helped me to develop more peace in my life is things like meditation or practicing asana, the physical practice of yoga. I also feel like connecting with nature plays a big role in having a sense of peace in my life. Going for hikes, going backpacking, going camping or kayaking, anything to engage with the outdoors, even just like a simple walk. Like every time I take our dog Finley for a walk, that can greatly shift my mood, especially if I was feeling really anxious prior to going on the walk. And other things that has been a really, really big help for me personally is having lots and lots of therapy. So I am very privileged that I've been able to afford therapy at different points in my life, and that has given me so many tools to help with depression, with anxiety, and I think ultimately find ways to develop peace within my daily life. I do think it's important to acknowledge the certain privileges that I have, which have afforded me to experience peace on a more regular basis. Not that I experience it all the time or even every day, but because I have a safe and comfortable home that I live in, I don't have concerns as far as like homelessness. And so that affords me a certain level of peace that others may not. I also have a loving and amazing wife and an amazing supportive group of friends. And all of those things bolster me and help me get through difficult times in my life and help to cultivate a greater sense of peace. So yeah, I just wanted to acknowledge that because of some of the privileges that I have, I think that plays a role in how I experience peace in my day-to-day life. So before I answer the next question, I'm going to get my tea things kind of prepped. So today I'm going to be doing a loose leaf tea, and I'll just show you what it looks like. It's just this lovely blend of, this one is the Glow Getter by T2, which is one of my favorite tea companies. They are an Australian company, and this is not sponsored. I just absolutely love tea too. And it's thanks to them that I have learned how to properly brew tea. Fun fact about teas, depending upon whether you're having a black tea or a green tea, white tea, oolong, that will determine the best temperature for your water. So I used to just boil water for any type of tea and then just throw it in there, and everything was just like, 5 minutes will do. But what can happen, particularly with like green tea or white tea, if you have boiling water, it can actually like kind of burn the tea leaves, and therefore it leaves kind of a bitter taste. So what I'm making today is not technically a tea because there are no tea leaves in it. It's just a herbal blend. And so boiling water is totally fine. And I think the brewing time that they recommend for this one is between 3 and 5 minutes. I tend to go more towards 5 minutes because I like it to be stronger. And this one is a combination of apple, lemongrass, linden, hibiscus, rosehip, calendula, chicory root, natural flavor, rose petals, alfalfa, lavender, and vanilla pieces. So this is a really tasty one, and I really like it a lot. And I'm going to be using one of my little teacups that has a built-in infuser for loose leaf tea. So I can just brew it right in the teacup. This is kind of turning into a tea tutorial, I'm realizing. I'm not a tea expert, I'm a tea enthusiast. And again, I do a little bit more scoops than they recommend because I like it a little bit stronger. And then we are very nearly boiling, so I think I have time to answer another question. So the next question comes from my lovely wife, Cynthia. And she asks, who takes all of your pictures? You do, my love. You know this. So Cynthia will typically take pictures of me, especially if I'm wanting like a full body photo of myself. Times when Cynthia isn't available, I will either set up the self timer on my camera, or I will do, just like your typical selfie shot. And any photos that you see that are of landscapes or flowers or like my books or like still life photography, those are all mine. I really, really love photography as an art form, and I'm completely self-taught. Cynthia very sweetly will take portraits of me because she really enjoys it, and she likes to get me to smile in the photos very naturally. So thank you, Cynthia, for that question and for taking my pictures. We are very nearly boiling, so we'll go ahead and turn that off. And then I'm just gonna pour the water over the tea leaves. Well, there's no tea leaves. I'm gonna pour the water over the herbal ingredients. And then once it's full, we're gonna let it sit and infuse. That'll do. And then this teacup also comes with a little lid so that everything can infuse and brew really, really nicely. So I'm going to set a timer for 5 minutes. Sorry, that's a really annoying alarm, but it's the most convenient one that I have at the moment. And we'll move on to the next question, which is from My Book Hauled Life. Great handle, by the way. And they ask, past reading slumps or seasons of life where reading was minimal. Yes, absolutely. I was thinking back about significant reading slumps, and the first one that came to mind for me was after I graduated college. So I studied English literature when I was in college and obviously read a lot for my degree. And I think after college, I was just feeling not burnt out, but just like, whew, I made it through. And so reading, because I didn't have to do it anymore, I just kind of fell out of the habit for a couple of years. And I still read books, but just not nearly the same volume that I had to read during my degree. And then I also hit probably my biggest reading slump between years 2020 and 2021. I remember seeing online during those years a lot of people were hitting like some of their best reading goals. I had the opposite experience. I had so much anxiety, around like what was going on in the world at the time, and just being very fearful of getting sick. And so my anxiety was at an all-time high, and because of that, I struggled to concentrate when I was reading. I did read a little bit, but it was like those 2 years were some of my lowest years of total number of books read. If I remember correctly, I think between those 2 years, I may have read 8 books, which for me is low. Even like after college, I read more than that in a single year. So yeah, anxiety, that'll take me out and put me in a reading slump for sure. I have noticed that this year so far, I've been in like a little bit of a mini reading slump. Last year was reading every single day, which was a habit that I had challenged myself to build in 2023. And, for 2024, I was like, I don't need to necessarily read every day. Like, I'll read when I want to. And I've come to realize that even just 10 minutes of reading every day, like I did last year, I miss that. And in February and March, I haven't been reading every day. And the days that I do allow, like even just 10 minutes, makes a huge difference in how I feel at the end of the day. Because I typically read before I go to sleep. I think I've realized that while I don't necessarily need to have like this massive, reading goal, reading a little bit every day like makes a really big difference in how I feel from day to day. So this week I've actually been challenging myself to read just for 10 minutes every day. And yeah, it's been really nice. Perfect timing. Now I'm going to just carefully take the lid off, which is kind of hot. And then what's really cool about this teacup, this is also from T2, again, not sponsored. I just really love their stuff. They have built a little well for the little basket so that it can rest and you don't get a little bit of mess on your counter. Just like that. How cool is that? So now I have my lovely steaming cup of herbal tea, the Glow Getter, and it smells very floral. You can kind of smell the apple a little bit. It's really, really nice. And I like this one on days where I'm not really wanting caffeine. I was debating this morning between this or an Irish breakfast tea, but I think I was leaning more towards this one just because I'm not quite ready to have caffeine yet. Let's move on to the next question. The next question comes from my wife, Cynthia, again, and she asks, any favorite books you've read this year? So I've had 2 favorites so far, and the first one, actually, let me go grab it real quick. The first one is a bilingual children's book, and it's Pierre and Paul Dragon, a story told in 2 languages. So this book has been a favorite for me, and it was a 5-star read. I knew that it was in English and French, but what I didn't realize is that it is about these 2 friends, one who is English and one who is French, and neither of them is fluent in one another's language, but they play together and they jump between English and French. And it feels like you're following a real afternoon of play between these two friends, and they end up going on this adventure. And I like that in the book there are parts where it will show like the English word and then the French word, and so you're being exposed to French, but in a very conversational manner and a real life manner. It was so, so good. And I love the illustrations. And this book was just such a delight to read. So this was my first favorite. The other favorite is Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver. This was also a 5-star read for me, and it just really struck me. Sort of like a modern take on Charles Dickens' David Copperfield, and there are so many parallels between the two. It was just brilliant, and I really appreciate the topics that she tackles in the book. Without giving too much away, she touches on the foster care system in the United States and a lot of its shortcomings. She touches on the opioid crisis in the United States. It's just such a brilliant book. And the way she was able to take this classic British tale and translate it into this modern, Southern America story was just really, really brilliant. Yeah, the really tough scenes within Demon Copperhead, it was like, oh, you just like feel for Demon, the main character, and I had to like take little breaks, emotional breaks, look after myself, and then go back into it. It was an amazing book. 5 stars, absolutely. The next question is from Ruby Outdoors. What's been bringing you joy lately? So my birthday brought me a lot of joy. It was really, really fun. I loved going for the hike with my wife and our dog Finley. And it's something that, like I mentioned earlier, going out in nature just really brings a lot of peace and joy into my life. And sadly, it's something that I haven't been prioritizing in the past year-ish, and going on the hike for my birthday just reminded me how much enjoyment I get from being in nature, even if it's just a really simple hike. And so that's something that I want to continue doing and bring back in to my weekends, basically. The next question is from Cynthia again, and she asks, how do you think up your video ideas? So I have a running list, and basically whenever I have an idea just pop up, I will jot it down on that list so that I don't forget. And then when I sit down to do video planning, I'll usually try to plan out about 1 to 2 months in advance. And of course, I allow myself to switch things around if things come up, or if I think of, an idea that I want to get to first. If I'm struggling for ideas, I have that list that I can go to, and I'm pretty consistently adding to it. I also get ideas for my videos when I try to think of themes. So the reading calendar series that I've been doing this year, at the beginning of each month, that is one of my themed videos. So it kind of has a formula. I pick out my TBR, and then I also reveal the book on my reading calendar. So that one is, one video that I know that I'll be doing each month. And then also anytime that you all give me suggestions for the types of videos that you want to see, those are always really helpful, because then I know I'm making something that, at least some of you are excited to see. So I always appreciate suggestions. And the last question is from Ruby Outdoors, and she asks, do you have a favorite spring wildflower? First of all, I love flowers a lot. Specifically in this part of the US, which is Southeast United States, Western North Carolina, I really love in the late winter, very early spring, the snowdrop flowers. I think they're so beautiful and just so delicate. And it's that sign that, ooh, spring is almost here. I also love cherry blossom trees. I realized the other day that we have a very young, small cherry blossom tree in our yard. And I love this time of year when it just starts to get its little flowers and its tiny little leaves. It's just so beautiful. I also love the blossoms on mountain laurel. They look like little teacups. I realized that a lot of these are flowering trees, not just like wildflowers, but they have blossoms, so I'm gonna count them as wildflowers. And those are all the questions you asked. Let me know if you liked this type of video by giving this one a thumbs up. And if you liked it, I will consider making more videos like this in the future. Thank you so much for asking your questions and for watching this video. And I would also like to give a special thank you to my patrons over on Patreon for supporting my creative work and for supporting me creating videos on this channel here. Thank you so much. And the full launch of my Patreon will be Monday, April the 1st. I will link the details to my Patreon page down in the description box if you want to go check that out. And until next time, I hope you have a lovely and cozy book and beverage to curl up with. Cheers.